Love the new album too, by the way. I've just been a big fan of the guitar work you've done. I actually talked to you, boy, it was probably on your first or second solo album you did, and they just keep getting better.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I do it for the love of the guitar and love of just picking and all that stuff. So I think that comes out in the music, it's just for the love of music, and people, seem to dig that.
I remember you grew up on some country music, didn't you?
I was brought up, my TV show was Hee Haw, that was my whole life. And, I love Chet Atkins and Roy Clark and Jerry Reed. On the new record, there's 2 Jerry Reed covers. And, you know what, to be honest with you guys, I really think that's why, people dig this, because there is a variety of styles on here that people can appreciate. You're not getting hit over the head with the same thing all the time. There is a variety of music there.
My grandpa always said that there was nobody better than Chet Atkins. I mean, that's what he said. He was like, "There's nobody better," and to hear it coming from John 5, it's just awesome. And when you're sitting around at the house and and you just feel the need, you pick up a guitar. What place do you go to? Where do you find your inspiration, especially when you're writing tracks that has to separate you from what you're known for when it's just John 5?
I play music, just music in general. So, if I'll play rock stuff for a while, I'll go on to a little bluegrass or Spanish style flamenco or anything, anything that I want that keeps me happy, some Western swing, it just entertains me. And I love to learn, and it's just, what really, fuels me and makes me excited is I just love to learn new things, and it's really exciting for me to be able to do this for a living. I couldn't have asked for anything more. It's the truth.
Is guitar kind of, I hate to say it's kind of a lost art, but when I'm thinking of just shredders, American shredders that are just top of their game, there's a handful and you're right at the top. Are kids picking it up still? Is this kind of a downtime for guitar right now?
That's a great question. And, I don't even know how to answer it, but, I'd like to do some tour with some other, guitar players, but you are right. There is a handful of people, and it's a there's not a lot of, instrumentalists out there. There are, compared to your regular bands, I should say it that way, compared to, things like that. But there's not a lot of instrumentalists compared to your, everyday rock and roll bands. So it's tough, I would love to see more, sure. I'd love to see more, absolutely. And because it's inspiring, and I'd love to be inspired. I look for inspiration every day from people and music and everything. So, hopefully there'll be more in the future.
Now, do you get nervous? Do you get those do you get the butterflies when you go from playing with with the zombies and everything? I mean, do you get nervous on how people are going to, if they're going to accept you, or any kind of nerves beforehand, or you just go up there and say, you know what, I love what I do, and obviously you appreciate the people that take time to come out and see you, but is there any nerves that are involved in this?
Believe it or not, there are not. The reason why is what I've learned growing up and things like that. The reason why anyone is nervous is because they're not prepared, or if they're going to give a speech, or if they're going to go act, or if they're going to, do anything. But I over-prepare. I'm like, prepare, and I've always been like that. So I'm never nervous, really. Actually, the only thing I'm nervous about is if the equipment will work. That's, the only things. I do get nervous for live TV because, I want to make sure that, everything's going to work correctly and blah, blah, blah. But I don't really get those kind of, it's more of an excitement,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, adrenaline flowing.
Sure.
Yeah. You've worked, would you put it this way, you've worked with David Lee Roth, Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson, 3 of possibly the biggest egos, and I put that in a good way too, but big names in the business. How do you approach working with guys like this that obviously are a little larger than life?
Well, they are larger than life, that's for sure. Luckily with those three artists that you named, I know their catalog so well. So if they'll reference something, like if Dave will say, give me something like, Could This Be Magic? And I'll say, oh, well, I know exactly what that is. That's off Women and Children First. And I'll know, and then I'll play, I'll know how to play all those songs. So I'll play something, reference towards that a little bit. All you got to do, I think the most important thing, you just got to listen to what they say.
Sure.
Listen to what they say. Nah, I don't play there. Okay. I would play a little bit there. Okay. Don't forget to show up at noon. I'll be there. So,
yeah.
All those things, it seems to work. When I was doing the score for Zombie, for Lords of Salem movie, he would give me these notes, and, I'd record him giving me these notes. I'd record his voice. I'd record a meeting with him. And I would, when I go back in the studio, because no one is going to remember everything you say, and it's, attention to detail, listen to my words, type of thing. And so I will record the conversation, and I'll go back and listen and rewind it, like, a bunch of times, because, the way that someone says something, like, could mean two different things. Like, for example, hey, that was awesome, or that was awesome. It could mean two different things. But,
sure. Yeah.
So that's what I usually do, is I'll record a conversation and, just do exactly what is supposed to be done. And it always has worked out.
I got to ask you about the live show, too, now. You're doing instrumentals. Are you worried about attention spans with people now? Are the kids going to get their attention without a lot of vocals going on?
Yes, I am worried about that.
Okay.
I'm not going to be one of those guys in an interview saying, no, man, it's going to be awesome. No, of course I'm worried about that. It's a barrage of notes, an arsenal of notes, and crazy, ridiculous guitar playing that is going to, just so over the top. It's like watching, if you go to a movie and like watching explosions and fight scenes for, just nonstop. You're going to be like, But what I've done is I'm going to throw some Western swing in there, some Spanish-style stuff, some Chet Atkins. So really mix it up. But there is going to be production. There's going to be production. There's going to be things happening. There's going to be, interaction with the crowd. So it is going to be more of a fun show because, you're going to get the Manson fans and the Zombie fans who I love, and, you want to, entertain them as much as possible. They might not even, be guitar players or like guitar, but, and then I'm doing like a medley of all these tunes, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Very cool, my brother. Very cool. So with John 5 and the Creatures, anybody that you could not necessarily name drop, but for anybody that's coming out to the show, I mean, do you have anybody in the Creatures or anything like that that could be that people might know from this project, that project?
Here's for listeners. This will be inspiring for listeners. Okay, what I did is I have this great drummer. His name's Roger Carter. He's played with tons and tons and tons of people, okay? But now here's where it will get inspirational for listeners, musicians listening to this interview. I needed a bass player because the bass player I used for the record is Elton John's bass player, and he is obviously going on tour with Elton John all the time. And what I did is I said, all right, I need a great bass player. So what I did is I went to MI, which is Musicians Institute here in California, and I had an open audition. And there was, all these people, and I said, I like that guy. And his name is Ian Ross, and he's 26 years old. And, he's never been on tour before, but now he's going to be traveling the country and, meeting all sorts of cool people and doing all sorts of cool stuff. And it could happen just as easy as that, So just keep playing and keep picking and keep pounding those drums and doing whatever you do because, if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it.
And that's a fact. Some kid has skipped school that's in 6th or 7th grade that just heard a John 5 lick somewhere out there in America or overseas somewhere. They heard their first John 5 lick and they can't stand it. They have to skip school. They're in their garage right now trying to figure out what it's going to be. And we have our next John 5 here in the next 10, 15 years. And it's just amazing to me how music influences.
And that is absolutely right, because if that person who you're talking about doesn't do it, I guarantee you 100% someone else is going to do it. And that's the reality. If I didn't do it, listen, I was born in Michigan, and I grew up in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, very, very well off. I had 2 mates to myself. I didn't need to do anything. But after high school, I moved to California, and lived in basically like the worst accommodations, no bathroom, no window, anything. But I just did it, and I just gave it my all, and it took a long time. And I would, it was a lot of hard work, but that's what I wanted to do. And that's the same for, people trying to make it, just I know I sound like the Nike ad, but just do it,
John, I got one question. I'm just a big David Lee Roth Van Halen fan. I saw something online. You've got some unreleased stuff you did with David. Possibility of that being released anytime?
Man, I hope so, because it's so cool. When I say it's cool, it's so cool. I'll run this down really quick for you guys. Dave, me and Dave, we've known each other forever, and he'll say, hey, John, come on over, we'll get some burritos, let's write some songs. Well, I'll go over to the house, and, we'll play, just write some music and things like that. And he's like, I love this, let's go in the studio tonight, So we did that for a while, and we kept going in the studio because these songs were great. And so after a while, we had 13 songs that were mixed and amazing production and sound unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. And of course, we do this just for the love of music. Me and Dave, we do it for the love of music. He's in Van Halen, so we just kind of did this. So I don't know if it'll be released. That's completely up to him. But I'll tell you, it's so good. And it sounds so good. I'll listen to it when I'm driving, and I'll go, this, if no one else is going to listen to this, that's fine, because I get to listen to this, because I'm such a huge fan myself, There is a song called Somewhere Over the Rainbow Bar and Grill. I mean, just to give you an idea, that's how rad is that, And it's just really, really great stuff.
Excellent.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.